Brett, speaking of our varied politics, one thing that you do on your show that I really like is that you offer a wide range of guests. You have a lot of different types of guests on your show, including people that you disagree with, people on the left, people who aren't on the left, and you're always interested in asking these or engaging with these difficult questions. And in general, your politics seem to be very positive towards a united front or left unity, which is something I'm pretty skeptical of, because I think, first of all, I'm not sure how much the left can do just on its own. That's kind of where my politics are as some sort of anarcho-nihilist, post-Trotskyist kind of person.
Oh, and we should say that we define... Different people define the left in different ways. I would say that we define it broadly as everything from like social democrats leftward.
Sure.
If we're being generous.
Everyone to the left of the mainstream Democratic Party, basically.
Mm-hmm. My skepticism aside, all of us, I think including you, you said that you're interested in Maoism recently. Jamie's a socialist. Sean's leftcom. But what unites us is that we're all very anti-dogmatic. I don't think any of us are, card-carrying members of a party or anything like that. We're interested in working together and engaging with these ideas and learning new things. So what I'd like to ask you is, in this strategy of left unity and the united front, how far do you see that going, and do you see that breaking down at any point?
Yeah, I actually think that's a great point. And honestly, I've come to change my position on left unity since the founding of the show. I remember in the beginning of the show, I was very much about it. And I haven't spoken out against it on the show, but I've stopped talking about it on the show precisely because some of the criticisms of the concept of left unity I've engaged with over the last couple of years have really been convincing to me. What is the left? What can we really say the left is, and what do they have in common? Right. And if all we have in common is a general, vague, amorphous dislike of capitalism, a general dislike of oppression, on what grounds can we really move forward? And I'm not sure that there are grounds. Now, that does not mean that we can't work together, that we shouldn't work together. So I've kind of traded in the notion of left unity. I've discarded that, and I've kind of picked up an idea of coalition building around shared interests, but ultimately finding what your principle is, what your lines are, what your values are, and joining an organization that most fits that and pushing forward. So if you truly believe that anarchism is an ideology and a philosophy and a mechanism by which we can make the most progress in this country, by all means, join Black Rose, join the IWW, and push forward on that front. If you're a Maoist or you're a Leninist or a leftcom, find organizations that are coherent with regards to what you believe in and push forward on that front. And you'll find, with this ICE detention situation, it's not so much that everybody's trying to promote this left unity. It's just a natural, organic realization that a lot of us care deeply about this issue, and we're going to work together. We're going to occupy these places together. We're going to talk shit to the monsters that are behind this policy when we find them out in public, and we can work together on that, especially when it comes to, let's say, fighting fascism. In Charlottesville, you had the DSA, you had anarchists, you had Maoists, you had Marxists, and that's a beautiful thing, and it does not require coming together and compromising on your specific values and trying to form a big group of people that just kind of agree on some basic stuff, but rather it's having individual organizations coming together but still maintaining their ideological integrity. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And might I add, liberals hate Trump as well. Liberals hate what's going on with ICE, and a lot of it's coming from a very good place. But who's working together to oppose ICE? Who's occupying the offices? Who's shouting people out of restaurants? It's the left.
Exactly.
So maybe Trevor Noah should be a little nicer to us the next time he decides to do a segment on The Daily Show.
Yeah. Did you guys see that old... When Antifa was starting to pop off, that Trevor Noah segment on Antifa, it was disgusting.
I did. That's exactly what I was thinking about.
I'd never watched him after that.
We should put Chris Hedges and Trevor Noah in some sort of, I don't know, cage match where they have to fight, and there's actually no two men enter, no men leave.
Yeah. At the very least, Chris Hedges has some class politics. Trevor Noah is just liberal centrism to the core.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, there comes a time in every millennial's life, I think, when they realize that the politics of their beloved Daily Show that they grew up watching are kind of garbage. So
Yeah, it was a weird experience when I realized that myself, yeah.
Well, I want to kind of branch off of what you were saying, Brett, because I agree with you. I think most of these points. I think that there's two very important things, and the first is, and you mentioned this, is practical activity that's built around not allyship but solidarity with other folks in terms of real world organizing to get people the things that they need and also to push forward a socialist, communist, anarchist, whatever it is, vision of the world that brings more and more people towards us. And I think the other thing you said, which is, find a party or, a group that you find the closest to you. Even if it's just, like I was saying on another show, if it was just a few of your friends, if you live in a very small town somewhere, if you folks want to start a study group or get together, be that person standing out in a hailstorm, and just sort of come together and create your own thing, as long as you're in the real world and dealing with other people and sharing ideas with other people and learning with other people, that's one of the best things that we can do, which is part of the reason why my group, actually, the Internationalist Bordigist Armchair Tendency is growing by leaps and bounds right now. We have probably maybe less members, but more memes than I think anybody else on the leftcom left.
It's a big armchair. There's plenty of room on the armchair.
That's
for
right.
everybody.
That's right.
You have seized the memes of production.
That's it.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, babe.
Oh, thanks, babe.
Including
that was my anniversary present to you. That's all you get.
Aw, thanks. It's so sweet. Like, we are so far away from any kind of mass movement. Like, even in terms of liberal reforms or social democracy, like, most of the stuff that's actionable in the present day is stuff that most of us agree on, from, even left liberals to the left. So we can totally work together. We can totally form coalitions. When it comes to having a big tent organization, some kind of umbrella organization that encompasses the entire left, it gets a little trickier. And this is something we've been talking a lot about in DSA right now, because it's kind of trying to become that big tent umbrella organization. But, the tent can only get so big in one direction before it has to shrink in another.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, if your horizon is social democracy, it's possible that you would be more effective in a separate organization from the people with, more anti-capitalist politics whose horizon is expropriating the means of production. So I'm curious to see what happens with it. And whatever does happen, hopefully will be, some kind of consensus decision that works well for everyone. One advantage the DSA has, I think, is that everyone is very comradely and reasonable in their discussions. So
yeah,
I have reason to be optimistic.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that, like when you're actually, like if you're on Twitter or Facebook, it can look very, very sectarian, like there's no way anybody can ever work together ever. But when you get out in the real world and you start organizing, you find that it's not really like that in real life. Like, people are, when they're face to face with you, even if they disagree with you, they're more comradely. Your personality comes across. People have like social mechanisms by which they moderate their behavior and their tone, and that goes a long way. But I just know that what's not going to win is attacking each other, is undermining each other, is spending all your time. If you spend most of your time online shitting on other leftists, that is not a recipe for fucking success. Put the mouse down and get out in the streets and try to do something of practical value, because this brand building and this sectarian fringe fighting online gets us nowhere. It does not speak to the masses. It does not win over recruits. It just creates smaller and smaller purity pools of like cliques, and that is not not going to lead anywhere.
Dead
Sure
ass.
doesn't.
Dead ass. I feel like 50% of what the left does right now is shit post on various social media platforms. And that's why I left the Spartacus League, because they weren't good enough at shit posting, and I wanted to, move on.
Better praxis.